How's it going? Well, hope it's going well. So, in this video, I want to talk about creating and the strategy behind service area pages that help you rank on Google Maps and locally, and also help you drive conversions and get more business. And with that, I'm Josh Thompson, founder of Brightbeam SEO, local search experts, where I've helped add over $35 million in annual revenue to local service businesses. So, with that, let's jump in to service area pages. What makes them work, what kind of elements they have. And I think the best thing to do here is to go through just a few big players in different cities and look at what they have and see if we can grab some of those elements and kind of reverse engineer what works. So all of these are companies that are ranking in the very top for very difficult searches in their local area. So, all right. So I'm going to start with one that I like. It's local to me that I like to use. Okay. And let's just kind of go down the page and look at some of their elements. So number one, we can see right at first is that they have this really well thought out, right? They have our services, then this is nested under heating services, which is then nesting this service, which is electric furnace repair, under electric furnace repair. So we can see that if I was looking for electric furnace repair, right, this is very well targeted to a keyword here in our URL. So that's a really good start. If we go to our details app, we can see that the title is electric furnace repair, has the location in it, right, and then the company name. And then don't let a broken electric furnace leave you in the cold. Our experts offer fast and reliable repair services in Boise. Contact us to schedule a repair. So these guys do, repairs in a lot of areas of my area and a lot of cities, I think even outside. But they've still got it targeted to a city, to Boise, right? Not specifically, but kind of indirectly. So I think that's interesting. I think there's always this question with service pages is, should they be targeted to an area? Should they not? But we can see here that in this particular case, they're using kind of their biggest market and they're just using the main city and targeting their service page, not a city page, but their primary service pages to this city. And we can see it's in the H2 is what I'm assuming this is, right? So it's not in their primary header for the page. So it's not 100% targeted towards this. It's kind of like the indirect. So interesting, right? And then I like this. Look, they don't use electric furnace repair again in the description. They talk about more the situation. Don't let a broken electric furnace leave you in the cold, right? So this is like more targeted towards a person who's talking about a problem and kind of addressing the problem and what the outcome or the consequences of this problem are, and then how these guys are going to fix it fast and reliably in the city. Contact us today. So I think that's a really interesting approach to the meta description, right? And then if we look at our headings, we can see there's two H1s. It says, I'm assuming that this is just based on sometimes using web builders. It'll actually have an H1 on the mobile and an H1 on the desktop. So you'll see it like this. But from what I've studied is as long as only one of the H1s shows up at a time, then it's actually not, that's not a negative thing, right? One of these shows up for the desktop and one of these only shows up when we go to mobile. So we can see electric furnace repair is targeted with their H1. And then you can see, right, furnace repair professionals in Boise, electric furnace difference, right? So H1, then we have some H2s and H2 with some H4s, H2, H2, H2s, H4s, right? So it's not a it's a pretty well structured page. You know, maybe has a few things I wouldn't include, but you know, who cares, right? They're ranking. So H1 and H2s, I think, all do a really good job here. So that's pretty interesting. Now, if I'm just looking at the page, another thing that draws me is this: get financing. Now, I think you asked the question, why get financing? Well, I'm assuming that their jobs are probably more expensive and that's what they've determined over time that people really want to know about and to do. What happens if I click it, apply for financing, right? They have a video, financing, and then you can kind of go through their application. So that's really interesting. You know, I think that's important to kind of understand from the perspective of conversions, right? Like that's the point of this page. So I would assume it's, yeah, whatever. So great. These are all really big elements. I always like that. The pink draws you, right? So that element really is sticking out. That's where it wants you to click. And then they have their reviews right here. That's really interesting. It's a pop-up, it says. So they have a pop-up that shows you a bunch of reviews. Cool. It doesn't actually take you to Google. Maybe that's good. Maybe that's not. But yeah. So reviews we have here, right? This is really good. So this is their breadcrumbs, right? So you know where you are. I think that's always really helpful to have on pages. Okay. And then we get down to their content where it talks about Boise, right? We install these units, right? I just want to look through really quick and see if we can spot anything that we can learn here. We own all the systems we installed. We install. So here we have like some check boxes that don't do anything, but they're just there to be kind of draw you. That's nice. These, I've seen this. I'm seeing this with a lot of the businesses that do really well, right? They use real pictures of real people, and the pictures don't look amazing, right? But they're real. And that makes me think people would rather see real pictures of real people. And everyone's always worried, oh, well, my pictures aren't good enough. Well, okay, the people who actually are doing the best have pictures that I would say are probably even more inferior. In fact, it seems that they lean into it a bit, right? And they put their little mascot in here. It's kind of interesting, but I think that's really good. So we have elements of real people. That's interesting. Okay. We have, electric furnace difference, right? So here's some like bullet points that I assume. So let me just say this, I guess. This is also a very not design heavy, but purposefully designed as well, right? We have this top section with the paragraph. Then it goes into like some check boxes. Then we see a call now button that's red. That's interesting. Then they have some offers. That's smart. Now we have that get financing again with also a schedule button like they have up here. So this is something I've been doing a lot more lately and really paying attention to. Always give people two options. So they're giving people their best two options for get financing and schedule online. Okay, once again, more design elements. It's not a crazy design, right? But it's very designed purposefully. So now we have a benefits section with more of these check boxes and some more text. Okay, no matter what furnace you're looking for. Okay, we have another offer that's like, it's like moving. I don't know the word. Another offer here, so that's interesting. And then, year-round climate control. Okay, heat transfer system is bolded. They don't have any internal links. That's the one thing I'm kind of baffled by with all of this really good SEO on here. They don't really have any internal linking. And then we see here right? Some information about their furnace repair, a bolded kind of area, some quick links here, looking for jobs, right? They add that. Then we can see another schedule, right? Which is interesting that this, right, get a precision furnace for $11. That must be some kind of issue, right? Because that's that's a financing line. But so then we see here, right? Now we have all of their heating services listed. So they don't internal link, but they do have a menu on each page with all of the related services in that category. So we're in heating services, and they put all of the heating services here in a little navigation menu. So they're linking to all of their services within the subcategory, right? Then we have one more of these get financing. It talks about their reviews, right? And then we see another one of their menus, and then their footer, which has their primary address here. So they've kind of picked one, their licensing. They do have their primary address. Even though they have a ton of locations, they have one primary address and phone number listed in here. I think that's interesting. So with that, I think there's some really interesting elements here that we can kind of grab, you know? So I would say from this, what are we talking about? Design, right? Not a crazy amount of text, purposeful text in a design, adding other elements, 2 options for people, 1 option, 2 CTA options, call to actions, 1 call to action that you think is your best call to action that even stands out in the design, right? Proper slugs, proper headers, you know, good text, some nice like movement in the text, right? We have the check boxes, we have the offers. I think the offers, not every business is going to have those. You know, with a heating and plumbing electrical company, these guys typically have a lot more offers, but those offers right there in the middle. And then just a lot of call to actions, right? We see a call to action, we go down a little bit, another call to action, go to call to action. So they are not being shy about their ability to give you the option to finance or schedule and continue to pump that, and then also putting their phone number in there as well. So I think that's a really interesting idea. Breadcrumbs as well. The reviews, really being heavy on the reviews, you know, and then they have some videos with their offers, right? So, and then the elements, like I said, having like a menu with your other services, right? Having a menu, having a few menus, right? With some links. They had some quick links. So that's this. Now for this, I just kind of want to continue to go down this path, but I don't want to make this one too long. I think we found a lot of elements, so I just want to go one more step further and see if there's anything here that we can grab really quick. This is another business out of Houston. So here we can see they have their name, Houston Services Heating, right? So they have this really good structure. Okay. We can see here they have their phone number, and then this red book now is like the one that's pushing us, right? The red is what sticks out, right? Red, 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 3 reds. You know, I guess this location too, but they're really trying to draw us to this red. A real picture, at least this looks real, right? This real looking picture of a guy in front of a truck that doesn't look great, but it looks real, right? Okay. So we go here. Expert heating services in Houston. Okay. Get heating help. Even Houston gets chilly enough in the winter to turn on the heater. So interesting, right? They're like, we're here in Houston. We understand. Here's the problem, right? Get ready for your cold winter with your heating services from installation to repair. Interesting, right? Houston heating services. Right, they're H1, only one H1. Then we have an H2 with Houston information and some sub. Another Houston related H2 with some sub information, and that's it. Right, so not really bad. That's pretty good. H1, H2, targeted H2s. You know, interesting enough. So we go down. These guys have, you know, the phone number here. We can see heating repair. So they've got some internal links that we didn't have. I'm not really reading the content. Some more internal links. So this is a lot more internal links. Is kind of more of what I would expect. I think this satisfaction guarantee is really interesting. They're really pushing this satisfaction guarantee. And then they have this. This is the one thing we didn't have, I don't think, on the other one, was the frequently asked questions. Adding a frequently asked questions to the bottom here with questions directly for our target audience. And then some related services and resources. Some really, really stand out, right? The reviews, reputation, testimonials, right? And then we go down, once again, the guarantee. So I think they're really pushing this guarantee. I think that's really smart. Oh, I didn't even notice this, right? This book online with us is just following us. Now we have another red book now, and here's another address for their primary location and the license. So even these guys that have a bunch of locations are choosing one primary location and throwing that at the bottom, right? And this one I think was the one that, oh, maybe not. Oh, these guys have a ton of locations. Okay, so maybe this changes with our location, which is probably true, right? Yeah, okay. So that's even more interesting. Whatever, we don't need to dive into that too much. But now the location changes with, your top location. So these guys are much bigger than these guys. So I think we went through that. That had all the elements, right? That adds the frequently asked questions to us, right? And yeah, if you have a lot of locations, then dynamically adding locations to your footer, right? So that's not a bad idea. But I think the frequently asked questions, adding that, a lot of the internal linking, right? So because they have so many locations, right? Houston is all Houston. So Houston has its own services and Houston has its own sub-services, and each of those interlinks and works together, and Houston is in its own, right, little silo with all these Houston different city pages and service pages all linking together, right? And it's separate from all the other areas that they serve. And it has frequent asked questions. That's so good. I like that. And then, I think figuring out the offer. I mean, this is something SEOs, I know I try to talk to my customers about this, but man, your offer can be such a huge difference maker in your business, right? Like this is something most marketers, an SEO isn't, as much as I'm a marketer, an SEO is more of a technical person that's there to get you traffic, right? But you have to think about, what are the two call to actions? Do your customers want to call? Do they want to get financing? Do they want to, do they want to book online? What do they want to do? Are you giving them those? Are you giving them what they want? And then number two is, what are your offers? Are you giving offers that are actually drawing people in the door? Are you testing those offers? Are you trying to find the offers that really grab your customers, right? And those are things that traffic can't do for you. But that if you can nail down will help you get more traffic, because as people spend more time on your website, they interact with your website, that's going to help you get more traffic. Those are all important. Google has a lot of this data already, and it puts it into its algorithm. So I think that's a pretty good amount of information. So that's how you can make some killer service pages. I think there's some really good pieces in there. And I think there's some pieces that I may have been putting into my service pages that maybe aren't necessary, right? Maybe they are taking away from it. So you always want to be analyzing where you are, what you're doing, what are the big guys doing, what's working, what's not, and where can we adjust? Because this game does not stay the same. It doesn't stay the same. It's always changing. All right. With that, hopefully this was interesting and helpful. You can always reach out to me, josh@brightbeamseo.com. Right now, I'm offering a free analysis of your business and Google Business Profile and website. Google Business Profile and website, absolutely free. I will send you exactly what you are doing right, what you are doing wrong, where you can improve. If you want that information or you're interested in that, send me an email, josh@brightbeamseo.com. Awesome. We'll